Here.
Trustee Miller.
Here.
Trustee Addison.
Here.
Trustee Siddick.
Here.
Trustee Wells.
Here.
Our attorney's here. I'm not going to try to say your name.
Carlos.
Carlos, Attorney Carlos. Mayor Hucker is
Here.
here and Clerk McDonald.
He's still creepy.
All right, if you would rise and join me in the pledge.
Because of the color.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first item of business we have tonight is public comment on agenda items. We have two opportunities to speak on our agenda. This is the first opportunity is for anything pertaining to our agenda, and secondly, towards the end of the agenda, we have public comment for any and all purposes. If anyone wishes to address the board on agenda items, don't all jump up at once. Okay, we will move on then to our consent agenda. And tonight, our consent agenda includes the following items. Approval of the village board regular meeting minutes from April 13th. Bills presented for payment, the amount of $106,097.38. And the March 2023 Public Safety and Monthly Finance Report. Is there anything that the board would have considered separately? There being none, I would ask motion by trustee Gust.
Second.
Second by trustee Miller. Discussion? All right. Roll call, please.
Trustee Gust.
Aye.
Trustee Jensen.
Aye.
Trustee Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Addison.
Aye.
Trustee Siddick.
Aye.
Trustee Wells.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, tonight we have a little departure from our normal routine as we are going to be considering our annual budget. So at this time, we will open the public hearing for the proposed fiscal 23-24 budget. Do we need a motion to open it? Yep. Okay, how about a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by trustee Gus, second by trustee Miller. All in favor?
Aye. Amen.
Opposed? All right. This has been available at the Village Hall for
Well, 20 days.
about 20 days
So,
for public inspection. Peggy, did you want to do an introduction to the budget at all, or would you rather wait until we're ready to consider it, or how do you?
No, sure, I could give a short
Sure.
overview and then,
It's inevitable, so you might as well.
yes. Um, We're pleased to present the budget again this year. It's a balanced budget. The Finance Committee has reviewed it several times, and then we recently adjusted it for the two large projects that we had final bid numbers for, which are later in our agenda tonight. And the total budget is 13.5 million. And about half of that is the capital budget, which includes the Wadsworth Water Main and then Manor Road project and our roads, our annual road program. Those are the three big capital items. And we expect to stick to it and stay on budget. We monitor it every month, and that's about a big overhead
Okay,
of the budget. But if
okay.
there's any questions or public comment,
All right,
could,
and having read through and scrutinized every line, row, column, and percentage. All right, maybe I didn't scrutinize everyone, but I am, as I said to our treasurer earlier today, it's a very comfortable budget. It's comfortable in a lot of ways, mainly because it's balanced. It's got surplus funds coming in from last year. It's got grant money that's been granted to us through various agencies that are allowing us to do some significant and long-awaited projects. So all in all, it's a comfortable budget. So I would ask for any public comment. I lied. There's 3 opportunities for public comment. This is for the budget hearing. Anybody? No, my wife's shaking her head like, why do you bother? because it's required. All right, hearing no public comment, we have a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion by trustee Gus and a second by trustee Miller. All in favor of closing the hearing?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the hearing is closed. We shall resume the aforementioned programming. Moving on to trustee reports. Finance Committee, trustee Jensen.
Thank you, Mayor. I have one agenda item, and before we dive into that, believe it or not, it relates to budget. Our next meeting is May 23rd, and we just had a meeting on the 25th, 2 days ago. And the main item that we discussed was the project that Baxter and Woodman was hired for to do an analysis, a water rate analysis. And it's an interesting document, a big document, but the bottom line is the water rates for the immediate future are sustainable. On the out years, because of our capital fund projects that we have coming up in the water utility and sewer, there'll be a need to adjust the rates. We're looking at the recommendation, which the board will have to decide on, was a hybrid rate where there's a capital portion that people pay regardless of how much water they use, and then a rate, a consumption-based rate. So depending on how those are adjusted, people's rates might go up or down. Some might even go down a bit. And those that use more water, their rates obviously will be going up. So that was the heart of that one. And that document will be provided, I understand, to the board members as well. Oh, along with that comes an interesting thing, a tool, basically a fancy spreadsheet that allows modeling of various scenarios, cost of, it gets quite granular. That you look at fuel cost and equipment and people and all that, software and that sort of thing. And then also, of course, the capital and the rate that we pay to Waukegan, which is the big chunk in the water side.
Yeah.
So that's that'll be interesting to see how that works. Now to the fun part. I'd like to offer a motion to adopt an ordinance approving the budget for the Village of Beach Park for fiscal 23-24. The one that we just heard about.
We have a motion by trustee Jensen, second by trustee Addison. Discussion.
I think this will probably earn another award. I put money on it if I had.
GFOA,
At least
another plaque, or at least maybe a little.
Yeah, we're gonna need that. We're gonna need a budget capital for more trophy cases.
Yeah.
For Peggy.
It was a good meeting.
Yeah. The work that goes into this is largely unseen. Staff, department heads, committee work, understanding it, but I have to always give credit where credit is due, and the organization of this document and the putting together of all the information that's collected falls heavily on Peggy, and she does it without complaint, and I actually think she enjoys it. So you see that little glint in her eye. What you working on? Budget?
Yeah.
Where I would be the opposite. I would be, oh no, here we go. But no, my appreciation to all involved, and it has continues to be my proudest legacy from the founders, as one of the founders, to say that we sat back 33 years ago, or more actually, because the belief started well before we were incorporated, and that was that properly run, properly managed, a municipality of our size, a village, not going to the extravagant and the boutique kind of communities that we see in some areas where services are extremely high, and so is the cost of living there. We took the opposite approach and said, we believe we can maintain a high quality of government services, the kinds that people count on, and not tax ourselves into oblivion, as so many communities seem to be having to do now. So here we sit, all that time later, celebrating yet another balanced budget and no real estate tax, and truly running on the revenues that we were automatically entitled to by incorporating, and a few others. So I'm
And to add to that, not to take away from Peggy by any means, but credit goes to everyone up and down the line as far as staff goes.
Yeah.
The can-do attitude, they will make it happen.
Yep.
They deserve a lot of credit for that. And
Absolutely.
staying within the budget and not expecting a lot of frills. We put radios in the trucks occasionally, but
Mhm.
beyond that, air conditioning. But seriously though, the staff is a huge part of balancing the budget and staying in the black.
Absolutely. Well, and it's not just the day-to-day operations. We're talking about replacing those expensive trucks with money from our budget, not a loan or a bond. We're paying salaries with operating funds, not with tax anticipation warrants. And we've seen it all around us, and I'm just happy to be where we are and proud of it. So kudos to all involved. All right, any other discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Jensen,
Aye.
Trustee Miller,
Aye.
Trustee Addison,
Aye.
Trustee Siddick,
Aye.
Trustee Wells,
Aye.
Trustee Gust.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, anything further?
No, sir. Thank you.
All right, moving on to Parks and Rec, Trustee Gust.
No report tonight, Your Honor.
All right, well, the lasting effects of
St. Patty's Day.
celebrations past are still with you there, I see.
Another
So,
week or so, and then it'll be gone. I'm glad I still could do it,
yeah,
without a doubt.
I think you bring a lot of joy into people's St. Patrick's Day. All right, planning, building, zoning, Trustee Wells.
Thank you, Honor. I have no report tonight.
All right, we'll move on to Public Relations and Intergovernmental Affairs Committee. Trustee Miller.
Thank you. First of all, I want to, before I get into the agenda item, I want to express an appreciation for the Knights of Columbus. I assume they are the ones that finished cleanup of North Avenue. Is that right? Yes. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I saw the orange bags piling up out there, and it's something that they do as volunteers. We really appreciate it. North Avenue is one of our main thoroughfares, and it's a collection for dumping anything and everything. And these people do it out of the generosity of their hearts. So we're very grateful and we appreciate that. So then for the board's consideration tonight, I have one item, and this involves a resolution approving a residential solid waste hauling agreement. And this is something that was worked on for several months by the IGA committee. We started last year, I think, actually, didn't we? Having meetings about it. And as it says in the summary, we had initially 3 waste haulers that submitted proposals. And at our committee meetings, we came up with questions. Staff went back to the haulers with our questions. And after several hours of debate, we decided unanimously that Waste Management should continue as our hauler. And there are several things in their contract, several nice things that are still going to remain. The annual spring cleanup will still remain, as well as the electronic pickup or dumping for the electronic items. They're going to do the one bulk item a week pickup for all the residents with no extra charge. In the contract, there is some detail about what they are promising to do for mist collection on residential properties. And there's also, if you look all the way back towards Article 8, or actually it's Article 9, they've included a lot of customer service standards. And I know that's, at least it was for us on the committee, that was a big topic of discussion. You know, customer service is really important. And I know we have had some complaints from residents. I think it's safe to say we'd have that with any hauler.
Yep.
You know, nothing's perfect in a situation like this. I mean, we got thousands of waste cans that need to be picked up, and you know, a lot of it is on the residents. You know, you have to have your bins out by 7 a.m. You know, not 7:15, not 7:30. So I think this is we've got a pretty good result here overall. Our attorney has reviewed it. I take it, yes?
Yes.
Okay, and you didn't find anything to be concerned about?
No. Jim, I know, worked with Mark extensively trying to finishing it up so that it would be, exactly what the village was expecting and what obviously a contract. So,
Okay,
so it's been reviewed.
so we're good to go.
Yes.
In other words, and, I thank Mark Huber, he did a lot of back and forth with the haulers. I know there was some question about, there was another hauler that proposed, they had really good pricing, but they wanted to do 5 days a week, every day. So we would have been back to having garbage trucks up and down our streets every day of the week, had we gone with them. So all in all, I think we've got a pretty healthy contract here. There, of course, there'll be an increase, but there, everything is increasing. There's no safety in today's numbers. But I think our residents will have really good options as far as what the hauler is committing to as far as customer service standards. And one thing that's kind of different on, in section 9.5, it talks about a customer service survey. And they're saying that WM will, during the second and fifth calendar year of the agreement, conduct a customer service survey to assess their own performance against, what the results have been of our residents. So I think that's kind of a fail-safe for us. If they're not doing a good job and the residents want to tell us about it, then they'll get an opportunity versus just calling up and being unhappy. So with that, I would like to offer a motion to adopt the resolution approving a residential solid waste hauling agreement.
I will second.
We have a motion by trustee Miller, second by trustee Gust. Discussion?
Please.
Yes.
I obviously am a little concerned about this contract. Is this not the third time with this same waste hauler?
I believe it is. Well,
This is the third
it's,
time around?
the waste hauler has changed. The
was-
Well,
owner,
names, but this is the
Yeah, well,
third
in
time
24,
with the same outfit
No.
that has changed names.
no, the 2014, the village adopted a contract with Advanced.
Right, but they
And-
switched to advanced from.
And
where
Advanced,
we are
well,
now.
Waste Management bought out Advanced maybe a year or so, year and a half tops.
Yeah.
And so this is our first full contract with Waste Management.
Okay, but same employees, same management.
no, actually.
No, it's a different company entirely.
It's
Yeah.
they bought the assets of Advanced. They may have the same drivers. They, may have certain local presence, but the whole company itself is geographically different, and so is their customer service department and all of that. So it is quite a bit different than going back to BFI, who was bought by Onyx, who was
Sure.
bought by, and the progression. So
But I just wanted to bring up, I've had many, many complaints over the last 6 years from the residents dealing with the quality of customer service, service in general. Not that I am big about these contracts to begin with, because I certainly don't like to tell our residents where they can spend their money. But I've heard quite a few complaints. I don't know if that's ever been rectified.
Well, I don't know if I can answer your question. The Advanced Disposal had a different customer service organization prior to about a year and a half ago. This current customer service and management is different from the last year and a half after they acquired the company. And as far as the assets go, they essentially bought this contract from Advanced, but it's still Waste Management trucks, and they may have had some of the drivers, but it's all Waste Management over the last year. So the 6 years of complaints from Advanced, I really can't address. But what I can say is, from a Waste Management perspective, when they initially took over, there was some growing pains. We did have some complaints about service. We had some missed ones that continued for a period of time. We had one customer that you can only access from Waukegan, and he's at the dead end street that they missed time and time again. And he let us know, and we let them know. But we've not heard a complaint about that in a couple months now. So, hopefully that's been resolved. But the complaints have gone down considerably. I mean, from my perspective, I've not received them. I took a lot of the refuse on and the waste when Waste Management took over. So, all of the complaints came to me because we had, in the initial contract, there was the exemption customers and we had to redevelop that list. So we now maintain a list and we've got that under control now. And then we had the, scheduling and who gets picked up what. We had, the individuals that had their back door picked up that got missed a couple times, and that's all been reconciled early on too. So from my perspective, the complaints have improved since the initial takeover by Waste Management from Advanced. So
Now, are they going to have designated drivers specifically for a beach park, or are they going to continue to use like filler drivers that come in and then come through Beach Park on their way through?
Pat, I don't know if you
So,
know
I
the
mean,
answer to that,
you
but I know
if they're going to have trucks on the road.
We didn't-
6 a.m., 8 a.m., or if they're going to come out
No,
throughout the
that-
day.
only
5
Friday. It's a
o'clock, I
Friday
don't know.
pickup unless there's a missed pickup or special pickups that people schedule independently. But I didn't talk, what driver you're going to have, but they're going to have, different drivers doing different routes because of, whatever people leaving, coming and going and leaves. But we didn't talk the specifics of who was doing what. Their intent is always to have the same driver on the same route on Fridays in town. But
So from the last previous contract, there was an increase that Trustee Miller had mentioned. What type of increase is that, just for the record for folks at home?
all
Will they be
all the increases,
paying?
all the increases are on that cover memo.
Right, just for the folks at home.
If you want to go through them all.
It's like $5 a month currently, for the pickup, and $3 a month for mobile homes
Right.
increase.
But just for the folks
And
at
there's
home.
well,
that
read them.
would be
I don't.
watching.
I'm not looking at that page. I can read them if you'd like.
Yeah, it was $5 a month on the limited. The unlimited backdoor service went up $1 for your sticker containers. It also addressed the landscape waste. The subscription went up 50 for the year. A bag went up 50 cents. Additional carts cost $2 more than the original $2. And then the other is the emergency service costs. Those went up, but that's few and far between. So
Right.
All right.
I've got a couple.
Sure.
Yeah, these, I looked at the increases, they're averaging 30 to 35%, be it $5 or be it whatever. It's about 30% for the limited monthly, the unlimited is 32, the backdoor is 37, so on. Now, when was this last, this is a 5-year contract we're winding up, is that correct?
It was an extension of, yeah.
Okay, now, well, the question I'm getting at is,
2019, I think.
is this price that, if this 30% increase would be easier to swallow if it were stagnant for a long period of time? And that's where I'm getting at. When was the last rate increase that they had? Was it CPI adjusted or?
Yes.
So they've had annual rate increases.
Yes, they have.
So this is a pretty substantial jump.
Yeah, and that was everybody. It was consistent. Well, relatively consistent. There was we had discussed in the previous committee of the whole. There was, a slightly lower price, 100,000 or so over the entire life of the contract, even at the increased rates. But everybody was pretty consistent on this initial jump here.
Well, that leads on, my next question is, we don't see the other, typically when you have bids, I know this isn't a straight up bid, but typically we're presented with the competing prices. I don't see them in this packet. Can you
No,
give
they
us
weren't in
an
the
idea?
packet, but they were presented to the IGA committee, and we also
Well,
talked about them
I
at the
don't
committee of
attend
the.
that one, so
We talked about them at the committee of the whole too.
Yeah, we did discuss it at the committee of the whole
at
meeting
the,
as well.
at the priority section.
No,
Were the other two?
No.
We had a
there were
special
two
meeting for that.
More waste haulers that come in with bids?
yes.
Yes.
Where were they at compared to Waste Management?
Well, they
Again,
couldn't offer
Trustee
the.
Jensen just
they-
brought, yeah, because I didn't. see
Well,
that.
can you specify a little more detail? I mean, they had, they couldn't do one day a week, And that's why we discussed it and asked what the staff should do, 6 months ago.
Right.
On the guidance on that. We had a board meeting and talked about what you wanted us to do, go forward with that. There's lower on their costs over the life of the contract, but they couldn't offer 1 day a week.
If I may add a couple more.
Sure.
The editor of this thing was fastidious about inserting hyphens in things like single family, but missed a couple of things.
Mr. Scribner?
The Scrivener was too focused on hyphenation. I'm looking at top of page 56 of our packet. The year is wrong. It says 2022.
Is that corrected on the,
That's page
no,
one
that
of
does
their-
carry
page
through
one
on
of
to-
their agreement.
Yep.
The red lined one.
yeah, that is there's a blank for the date on the official version, but you're correct. That 2022 needs to change to 2023 when we,
And there were a couple other.
yeah.
Yeah, it started in 2022, so that's
Yeah.
probably why.
I got it. There was a Scrivener's error on page 63, page 8 of their document. If the landscape waste is contamination with materials that are not considered landscape waste, rather than contaminated. There was one other that's of consequence. These are pretty inconsequential. I'm looking at page 15 of their document, page 70 of the packet, Article 9, 9.3. References 9.3A. The last line references 9.3H, which has been eliminated on the next page. And that's also referenced backwards on page 17 under Article 10A, references 9.3H, which again doesn't exist. And I note here 10B gives the contractor 30 days to cure an error, a breach, and 10.2A gives the village 7, which seems unfair. But however, they give us 30 for the same, pretty much the same for default on 10.4 on page 19. So I would suggest that we bring those into agreement so there's 30 days to cure for both the village and the contractor. I think that's all the
Okay.
trivialities that I have. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Other discussion?
The one thing that stands out in my mind after sitting through, going through this multiple times at the committee meetings, people on social media like to complain. One of the hardest things was when there's a holiday and the garbage day gets extended one day, people lose their minds. I guess we're creatures of habit and it is what it is. But the resounding conclusion that we would come to is that with the seemingly large number of people who were affected on social media, the village would get like one call.
Right.
So the people, yes, they have customer service. We sat in a meeting and we were talking about customer service and a very specific complaint. So Mark picked up his phone and dialed the number and they answered on the second ring or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
We test drove it.
yeah, I mean, everybody has an off day, I suppose, or, lines, whatever. But the important thing is, I think that, we've gone over and over with the customer service and the standards that they have to meet. If those aren't met, we would really like to encourage people to call the village so that we can address that with the contractor, because that wasn't happening. We get like in a 6-month period, they would say, oh, we've had 2 calls. That's 6 months. And then we're hearing from people that, oh, it's terrible. Everybody hates it. And I don't.
Yeah. There's an opportunity here, I think. Our website certainly is, we can, with the new contract, there are new conditions that we need to potentially educate our residents on. One is contamination of recyclables. And if a container is found to be mixed, commingled with waste, they're not going to take it. They're obliged to take recyclables to a recycling facility and not landfill them. That is very clear in the contract. And that's a standard that Swalco has helped with over the years. And obviously, this has become important to them because now they're adding it to our contract to make sure that there's a consequence to the resident that commingles recyclables. So I think we have an opportunity maybe to, with their help, specify what we might be able to put out there, including a schedule. I don't know how you make it any easier or harder to find or whatever, but a schedule of holidays and the consequences of said holidays and all the rest. It's if we had 12 different waste haulers hauling individually for people, they would have the same problems in that respect because the holidays happen.
Exponentially.
Yeah.
It would have the
Yeah.
same.
Oh,
Right, that
and-
was my next question too. You know, what is the importance of having a contract versus letting the residents choose where to spend their money?
I can answer that because 11, 12 years ago, we got into this pretty deep, looking at the condition of our roads and the traffic on our roads with very heavy and oftentimes overloaded trucks. Driving down, backing back, turning around in driveways, all of that from multiple waste haulers. And we were paying the price for that with that additional traffic on our roads. And that was the impetus to go this direction. It was not taking away somebody's liberties, but to actually protect the asset that is our roads. And that's why we went that direction to start with. And why it was unanimous at the time that was a good, or maybe it wasn't unanimous, but it was certainly overwhelmingly approved that it was a good decision to make for the sake of our roads.
Yep.
Well,
And
the other
the
thing-
traffic and the fact that we had waste containers on every road every single day of the week because the haulers would go to house A but not B and not C, and then that would they'd be on Tuesday, this would be on Monday, that'd be Thursday. There'd be garbage cans out continuously.
And
throughout the
blown
day.
over
Yeah.
all over the place. Yeah.
Well, the other benefit was spring cleanup, right? That came directly out of the village's budget every year. We would pay for spring cleanup.
Mhm.
Once we went to a single hauler, we have been able to negotiate that into the contract that they provided at no additional cost.
Back when we first set this contract in motion, we had a value on that of about $25,000 that wasn't going into our budget, coming out of our budget, in addition to the electronics collection that is ongoing year-round at the Village Hall, or at the Public Works, excuse me. So, but if that helps, that was
Yeah,
the.
it does, but you know, obviously I'm not going to support this.
Yeah, that's fine.
You know, I just think that I like to support mom and pop business, small business versus
Mm-hmm.
big corporations. And I think that's something that I've advocated. Shop Beach Park, shop mom pop business,
Mm-hmm.
shop small. So.
I don't believe there was any mom and pop businesses that bid on our waste hauling.
Well, I think there was one from what I remember, a local company.
When we saw the list of their customers, and they are not a mom and pop organization.
Yeah.
Well,
They're all over the place, so it's.
Mayor,
All
if I
right.
may, to your point regarding the education of the residents, I was looking at the obligation to provide customer service under this contract, and they're obligated to answer calls within 120 seconds, including wait time, and to get back to customers within 24 hours of a complaint, and to follow up with the village if there's a complaint they can't resolve. So those are all things that the customers really need to know about, and website or newsletter would be a good venue for that.
Yep, exactly. And I think we can do all the above. It's going to make our lives simpler, our staff's lives simpler, if we're able to nip these problems in the bud. I know that when staff reaches out to our government liaison for this contract, we get a level of service that the average consumer isn't going to get. That they're looking after the bigger customer, the client itself, the municipality, and they're on the hook for all of that. So I think that we can certainly, between what we can do to advocate and,
Well, if the customers are aware of their rights, the
Yep.
company's obligations, we're more likely to hear about it when they fail.
exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. All right. Good discussion. Last call, anything else? All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Miller,
Aye.
Trustee Addison,
Aye.
Trustee Siddick,
No.
Trustee Wells,
Aye.
Trustee Gus,
Aye.
Trustee Jensen.
Aye.
All right, motion carries.
That ends my report.
Thank you very much. Moving on to public safety, Trustee Siddick.
Thank you. I was hoping the chief was going to be here tonight because I actually heard there was going to be a spring cleanup on the bike path, which I believe was May 6th. May 6th, 8:00 a.m. And I knew that there was an expo coming up, but I was trying to find the research on that, but it's not listed on the website. So hopefully Chief will be here next time to give us a little more information on that.
Yep.
Sheriff's Office lift.
Must have a call.
So I guess that, and I just want to thank Mr. Huber for his report. That was a very nice, thorough report that we all received, especially including the information from the bar on Sheridan Road, the social pub.
Yep.
So I look forward to getting additional information on that in the future.
Yep.
So,
Understood.
Thank you.
So are
That is
we.
my report. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on, Public Works, Trustee Addison.
So remember earlier in the meeting when Don was talking about how nice it is that the village staff doesn't spend a lot of money?
It's your committee that spends.
This is the portion of the meeting where Don's going to be very disappointed. I know there's a few things to discuss on here. The first one being for this year's motor fuel tax funds to be expended on our road improvements project. The IDOT, the state requires a resolution in support of spending the money from our MFT funds. So I would make a motion that we approve a resolution appropriating $600,000 in MFT funds for the 2023 MFT road improvement project.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Addison, second by Trustee Miller. Discussion? There's quite a list of streets that are showing in here. Of course, not a lot of long ones, but should
Put it all together and it's 2.19 miles.
Yep. 2.19 miles is every bit helps. Okay, roll call, please.
Trustee Addison,
Aye.
Trustee Siddick,
Hi.
Trustee Wells, Trustee Gus,
Aye.
Trustee Jensen,
Aye.
Trustee Miller.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. The second item is one of those contracts that we're going to enter into with a contractor for repair. This one is on Manor Avenue. It's a roadway extension plus storm sewer improvements. The village worked hard and received funds from the Rebuild Illinois Fund, which was made available during COVID. Some of the federal funding that was filtered down available to municipalities. So, let's see, the total amount for this project is $1.1 million, but we received $898,000 in grants for this. So it's a hit, but it's not as bad of a hit as paying the whole thing. So this went out to bid, and we discussed it, and it was recommended that we award the contract to Campanella and Sons, Inc. for the Manor Avenue Extension Project in the amount of $1,164,691.35.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Addison, second by Trustee Miller. Discussion.
Yeah, just a point that is made here, it was made at our meeting, is also made here in the memorandum from HMG. They're having a devil of a time getting bids on these things.
Mm-hmm.
Campanella is about the only one that wants to bid on our projects. And I think it's a sign of the times, or it's a local job, and they tend to want to do them all around here, and the other folks don't want to compete or can't compete with them, so they just won't bid them.
Yep. Very true. All right, other discussion? This is one of those long time coming projects. Those that are familiar with Manor Avenue, there's been a dead end off of Beach Road and a dead end off of York House Road since the beginning of time. Actually, Manor Avenue was extended numerous times from the south, from Edgewood. I think that's, yeah, Edgewood is the county or the township line there. And it's builders would come in, they'd build a couple houses, they had 100 feet of road. And then a year later, another builder would come in and add another 100 feet of road. Well, pretty soon we end up with a dead end that's about 6 blocks long, and it's a nightmare. So to be able to have our plow trucks make a continuous drive down that street, to have a fire truck not have to back up 6 blocks to get out of there, or an ambulance turning around in somebody's driveway, or garbage trucks, all of the above. So I'm excited to see this happen. I realize that some people won't be living on a dead end road anymore, but I gotta believe that the safety and the convenience factors are gonna go through the roof. So, all right, ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Sitter.
Aye.
Trustee Wells.
Aye.
Trustee Gus.
Aye.
Trustee Jensen.
Aye.
Trustee Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Addison.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, and the next one, kind of along with what Don said, this is also a contract with Campanella and Sons out of Wadsworth. This is a water main project that connects our low-pressure side of the village to the high-pressure side of the village. We've been discussing pulling this off ever since we had a fire at the pet store, however many years ago that was, because there was some concern about running out of water while fighting the fire because it's on the low-pressure side and it's a long ways away from the storage tank. So we've been talking about this for a long time, but every year when we talked about it, we said we don't have the money, we can't afford it. This is another one where the village staff worked hard and received funding from ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act. We got $1.86 million to put towards this project. Now, I believe when we first started talking about it, we said this is probably going to be about a $1.3 million project, and we couldn't afford it.
Right.
Now, as with anything else that you wait many years to do it, things don't get cheaper. They get more expensive. So now we've got $1.8 million in grant money, and the total contract for this is $2.45 million to get it done. It's big pipe, and that's a part of the high cost, but it's connecting the two main systems. If we were ever to advance in either direction, we need a big transmission pipe to get from one side to the other, so that the way it's designed, that it's a little more expensive, and it goes along the airport property. There's some complications with easements and everything. So it's been a long time coming. I believe this has had a preliminary design for many years,
More than 10.
and
Yep.
and each year that just has to get updated as we waited or searched for a funding source. And like Don said, when it came time to open the bids for this project, Campanella was the only bidder. They're capable. We have history with them. We're comfortable. I learned something interesting that I wasn't aware of. There's some, like a gentleman's agreement type thing between contractors that job is in your backyard. We're not going to bid on it. You don't bid on stuff that's close to our
Sounds like
shop.
price fixing, doesn't it?
Yeah. You don't bid on the stuff that's close to our shop.
Oh,
We won't bid on the stuff that's close to your shop just because,
There's
so
a cause of action in there somewhere.
I don't know if it's in writing or if it's
Well, that
official.
doesn't
but-
matter. Collusion's collusion.
That's enough, Mark.
Yeah.
Well, it is what I learned. I thought it was interesting. I'd never heard that before. But, so anyways, they are close. So it does make it cheaper for hauling of materials to and from because it's nearby. So unless Don or the attorney now comes up with an objection to this, I'll make a motion to approve a resolution awarding the contract to Campanella and Sons, Inc. of Wadsworth for the Wadsworth Road Water Main Interconnect Project in the amount of $2,454,413.70.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by trustee Addison, second by trustee Gus. Discussion.
Collusion notwithstanding, this is a good thing to do.
Yes.
In terms of security of the system and looping it, cross-connecting it so that the two different sections, zones can support one another. It's important they do. So
Yep.
it's long overdue.
Yeah, I agree. In addition, when almost $1.9 million of the project is being funded through grant money, there's a
Fell
Yeah.
out of the sky.
Yeah, it just fell out of the sky. There's not without consequence to our economy, but we're used to seeing money going other directions, and it's sure nice to see some of it landing in Beach Park. So for that, I'll be the hypocrite and say that I'm glad to see it. But it does allow us to do a project that otherwise was not going to happen,
Right.
without bonding it.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to that 30-plus-year-old philosophy, don't spend it if you don't have it, would be awful tough to justify selling bonds for this interconnect because it's not, although it's bringing safety and it's bringing reliability to the system, it's not adding capacity, it's not adding customers. There's no revenue directly coming out of this. So it's tough to sell, a project like that without bringing a whole neighborhood in at the same time or something. So
But it's like a big picture improvement.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. And not to be lost that, as we expand our Green Bay Road business district, as it continues to grow, the demands will be there and we'll have some backup. Never mind some of the other things we discussed with cross connections of other systems. So
It does allow for ease of connection north of Macquarie too, though, Mayor,
Yes.
remember? So that
Yes.
is one thing.
certainly, it does add water to an area that doesn't have it. And
But in this case, we're not asking all those homeowners to flip the bill for the water main extension
it would have been impossible.
because it's a lot of money
And-
to split it up a few ways.
and it wasn't for lack of considering it.
Right.
It just didn't pencil out. We looked at that whole neighborhood, 33rd to Wadsworth and, west of Lewis Avenue out to Green Bay, because the main would be essentially serving that area. But the cost, $2.5 million just to get the main put in, and then the cost of extending it just didn't pencil out. So
Early on in the process, the public works staff sent out multiple postcard surveys to all the people trying to choose the best path.
Yep.
If we take this path, it could potentially benefit 22 homes. If we take this path, it could potentially benefit 18 homes.
Yep.
So, but we sent out cards and surveys and got very few responses
Yeah.
because of the potential cost.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So now it will be available for people to connect to if
the
they're
project.
on the route, if they're the
Yep.
lucky ones that got that route. I'm not.
Okay, very good.
I just looked up, we have 2,900 water customers. So it'd be $1,000 a fee per house to pay for this stuff
Yeah,
over a period of time, but still
right.
per connection be $1,000.
And there's a legitimate argument that the improvement to the system, it brings value to them, but it doesn't change their current reality.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Good. All right. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Wells.
Aye.
Trustee Gust.
Aye.
Trustee Jensen.
Aye.
Trustee Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Addison.
Aye.
Trustee Siddick.
Aye.
Motion carries.
That concludes the expensive part of this evening agenda.
All right. We have we had no TIF finance TIF committee meeting, so there's nothing to report from that committee. Move on to staff reports, and it looks like we've got one item.
Yeah, Mayor, Village Board, this is an ordinance that essentially changes one condition on the ordinance that was recently completed for the map amendment and plan development use for the Green Bay Road and the tractor supply development. They were intending to, the developers intending to sell the property to an ownership entity that's going to lease to the tractor supply. And the way we wrote the condition initially, they didn't pick that up. And that condition limited the map amendment and the plan conditional use to only the petitioner, which did not include the company that was going to essentially own it. So This ordinance changes the condition to allow them to transfer that property to the actual,
Developer.
yeah, the company that's going to do the construction and own the property after, I mean, the building plans are in and we're reviewing them now, but after it's constructed, they'll be the one that'll be leasing it to Tractor Supply. But it still has the condition that if it's not a Tractor Supply, then it's, the conditional use is, no longer permitted. So there's only that one paragraph that was changed. And with that, I'll leave it to you,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Do we have a motion to approve an ordinance amending, let me read it out just because, an ordinance amending ordinance 2023-06, approving petition of Primax Properties LLC for a map amendment and planned development conditional use permit at 39172 and 39120 North Green Bay Road, parentheses, Tractor Supply Company. I heard a motion by trustee Gust. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Miller. Discussion?
I just had a quick question, because I hadn't seen in the previous paperwork. Who is Sea Mountain Ventures LLC?
I asked for that information and I didn't bring it down, but it's just one of the holding companies. I guess they're all together, but it's just a different LLC that we have the contact information upstairs. I'm sorry, I just didn't bring it down. I didn't think of it. I will get that to everybody though.
Typically, I shouldn't say typically, and oftentimes developers will put each property into a
Sure.
unique LLC.
Sure.
And
That's why I just wondered.
yeah, it
who
sounds
was
like that's
behind
what's going
Sea
on.
Mountain Ventures.
Yeah,
Is their name?
Fleet Farm.
yep, Fleet Farm.
I doubt it, they
No.
lost out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was just curious who's behind,
Okay,
the names behind Sea Mountain Ventures.
yeah,
Interesting.
okay. The discussion? All right, clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Gust,
Aye.
trustee Jensen,
Aye.
trustee Miller,
Aye.
trustee Addison,
Aye.
trustee Siddick,
Aye.
trustee Wells.
Aye.
Motion carries. Anything else from staff? All right,
No, I kind of leaked that there. We did get the building plans for the Tractor Supply this week too. So
good,
just FYI.
excellent.
Very good.
Very good. We have no old business. Under new business, before I forget, I would be remiss if I didn't go back to our waste hauler contract and just extend a thank you to Walter and his crew over at Swalco, because I know that they've been invaluable to us on these contract negotiations. They're in the thick of it with all the waste haulers and all the different contracts. And from day one, he and his team over at Swalco have been invaluable to us for these negotiations. So I just wanted to bring that up. I know it was mentioned in the memo. So moving into new business, we have some bills to pay for HMG Engineering totaling $21,627.61. Do we have a motion to
So moved.
approve? Motion by trustee Miller, second by trustee Gust. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Jensen,
Aye.
trustee Miller,
Aye.
trustee Addison,
Abstain.
trustee Siddick.
And for the record, I think it's appropriate that you disclose the reason for the abstention. I believe you're employed by them.
Yeah, I did that like 9 times. I was told I didn't have to keep doing that, but I would be happy to. I will not be voting on this because I am an employee of that company. So I not only can't vote on them, I can't do any work in the village on their behalf. So I am not allowed to bill any hours towards Beach Park or be involved. So.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Go ahead.
Is it trustee Wells,
Aye.
trustee Gust.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Next up, we have a resolution approving an agreement for professional services with HMG for construction engineering services for the Manor Avenue extension. That is in the amount of $89,000. Do we have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
We have a motion by trustee Miller,
Second.
second by trustee Gust. Discussion? I'm going to guess that trustee Addison's not going to, he's going to.
I will be abstaining from this for the, of
For the
course,
same
that
reason, yes.
same discussion. Yeah, it tells you, yeah.
This is almost like the Fifth Amendment at a congressional.
Yeah, you have to say it
Over
every
and over.
time. Roll call, please.
Trustee Miller
Aye.
and trustee Addison.
Abstain.
Come on,
Trustee
give us the whole
Sittig.
spiel.
Trustee Wells,
Aye.
trustee Gus,
Aye.
and trustee Jensen.
Aye.
It's kind of like your Miranda rights. You need it on a card. You just read it every time. Motion carries. Moving on. Next up, we have a resolution approving agreement for professional services with HMG for construction engineering services for the Wadsworth Road Water Main Interconnect. That is in the amount of $146,100.
I'll give you that motion.
We have a motion by trustee Jensen,
Second.
second by trustee Miller. You're confusing me now. We were on a roll,
This is the amen corner over here.
right? Discussion. None. Roll call, please.
Okay, we'll start with trustee Addison.
I will be abstaining because I prefer driving an hour to get to work instead of driving right out to town.
Trustee Sittig.
Aye.
Trustee Wells.
Aye.
Trustee Gus.
Aye.
Trustee Jensen.
Aye.
Trustee Miller.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. Any other new business to come before the board tonight? There being none, and now is the time that you've all been waiting for. By all, I mean at least one of you, to address the board on any and all topics. Just come to the podium, give us your name, and state your case.
Hello again, all. Alan Hutchison. Couple of things. So tonight was the first time I heard about the recurring the garbage contract, and I just wanted to add that I was one of the people that had some issues a few years back, but in the last year we've had pretty good customer service from them. Actually, we had an instance where we didn't quite make that 7 a.m. deadline and had a missed pickup, and we called them. They actually rescheduled the truck to come back by that day
Wow.
and pick it up for us.
That's
So
good.
So you're the one that had a good experience.
I felt like it was worthwhile that I shared that with you.
Okay,
And
thank you.
I appreciate the discussion to try and get the services as cost effectively as possible. But like I say, it seems in the world that you only ever hear the bad news and not the good news. So I figured I would share that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. The reason I'm here is again tonight is the same reason I've been back, nights before. I just wanted to let you know that there really hasn't been any change to the situation off of our street, off of West Beach Road, west of Green Bay Road for the Waukegan Sports Park. I did attend another Waukegan zoning committee meeting. We didn't have any previous knowledge of the ordinances pertaining to the sports park being postponed, but they did postpone them. They sent a letter to the committee, and unfortunately, we didn't find that out until we showed up. So, I did get a copy of the letter, of which I will make sure that Mark gets a copy. But I wanted to read a couple of the finer points in here where they talked about Beach Park. One of the things that struck me, so they talk about some of the events that had happened, some meetings that they had with the neighborhood, as well as meetings they had with Beach Park. But in the section where they talked about the meeting with the neighborhood, they talked about item number C under their heading, which says they basically informed us that activities in the sports park will have an end time of no later than 11 p.m. on 5 lighted fields. So they're still planning on holding events there that they say will end at 11 p.m., which we know means that they will probably not end until near midnight because they're not going to hard stop them at 11.
1 a.m.
Yeah, easily. So I just wanted to point that one out. And then near the end, the last two items, I just want to read the last one, item D, the second to last one, item D, and the last one. So the second to last one says, the Village of Beach Park prefers the Park District create access for the existing facility and the new golf facility without the use of Beach Road. It was noted by the Park District at the meeting that in 2009, the village gave the Park District full access to Beach Road as long as the district paid for all the improvements to the road, which the Park District has complied with. Not only did they give the Park District full access, the village said they were 100% supportive of the Park District's new facility. So I don't understand. I don't believe that's exactly how it went, but I just want to let you know that that's the picture that they're painting for the zoning board. They also noted in here that Moving forward, the Park District will explore options with IDOT to gain 75 to 100% access off of Green Bay Road, but access to the sports park will continue via Beach Road, AKA they're going to continue to do what they want. So I just wanted to make sure that that makes it onto the record here so you guys are aware. I did speak with most of the neighborhood. I know last time I said I was 2 houses shy, and I actually talked to the new owner of 12810 West Beach, and I explained to him what was going on. And the day that I talked to him was a very light traffic day, and he made a comment about how it was a very heavy traffic day, and he couldn't believe that there were so many cars on the road. And I told him to just you wait and see. But we had discussed with the rest of the neighborhood about an option to potentially turn the 2 roads, the Beach Road between Green Bay Road and Bayonne between Beach and Hart into one-way streets, respectively. Right now, Wadsworth has an existing one-way street on Hart that doesn't allow traffic to exit off of Bayonne West out of that facility. That's the only one-way in all of Wadsworth, and it's only 100 feet long, but it does prevent traffic from moving that direction. And after talking to the residents to try and come up with an option that that would work well for everybody and not put the onus of all the traffic on one section of the neighborhood, but also encourage the Park District to resolve their traffic issues over there. We came up with a plan to essentially turn Bayonne Avenue from Hart to Beach into a one-way that only traveled southbound in the same direction as the Hart one-way, and then correspondingly Beach Road would be a eastbound only. So there would no longer be westbound access on Beach Road to get to the facility, or to the entrance of the facility that's on Bayonne. They would have to use their alternative entrance that is on Green Bay Road, and then I'm sure it will be highly unpopular, but walk to the facility in the backside until which time that they put a bridge in and the supporting structure to, have the facility that they have inside of there. And I talked to, like I say, everybody that I talked to in the neighborhood was in support of this. The people who live on Bayonne understand that it could mean more traffic on their road because people will inevitably try to use the neighborhood, the northwestern entrance, and I think it's also Bayonne that comes out near the storage facility on Green Bay Road. But those are both Wadsworth roads, and both of those roads have a weight limit being imposed on them of 6 tons, which means that they'll no longer be able to put tour buses and campers and large vehicles that we see all the time that are currently ripping our road to pieces into that facility. Right. So it would also really help us in terms of cutting down on the back and forth and the constant flow of traffic by eliminating half the traffic in one direction. It's not going to reduce the number of cars that are going in there, I don't believe, but it will put a lot of pressure on the Park District to resolve their issue. And so, this is something that I did make a graphic of it, and I had sent it over to Mayor Hucker. And if it hasn't made it around, I'm happy to send it to anybody else that needs to see it. Yeah, absolutely. I actually have a copy of it here tonight. If you guys want to see it, I have it on my phone. I can show you. But the neighborhood is in support of it, and even including that new neighbor. So now I'm the only one. I'm only missing one more from Bayonne that I haven't talked to. One more Beach Park resident from Bayonne, and we're really hopeful that you guys will consider that and do that, because I think that will help us in the short term, and it will encourage the Park District to stop doing what they're doing, which is essentially dictating that they're going to continue to do whatever they want. It doesn't matter what we say or what our opinion is. So,
Excellent.
Yep. So that's it. So I'll give you a copy of that, and anybody that wants to see that plan, I can show you the small version. I can send you the larger
And
version.
Mark has it as well, so the revised versions that they shared with them, but not us. Or did they share them with us ultimately? Yeah.
Is that the last plan from the Park District?
Yeah.
Is that the plan where the Park District wanted to take over the right of way and reroute it into the park?
Yeah, that's the one where they were kind of doing
the S-bend?
Like you'd have to kind of go into their parking lot to leave your house. Yeah.
Yeah. The last and final revision of the Park District was one where they moved Beach Road away from its current right of way, rerouted it into the park, and then created a dead end street, a T dead end street with a 4-way stop, so that any of the residents that live in the 5 properties nearest Green Bay Road, where my house is, We would have to essentially wait at a four-way stop to get into the park traffic and then filter through the park traffic as it's ingressing and egressing to get out to Green Bay Road to still wait at a stop sign there.
Yeah, which doesn't
So-
really, the only thing it does is move the traffic another 50 feet away from your property. It doesn't really change anything, so.
That's correct. So
Yeah.
anyway, this is where we're at. Again, if
Excellent.
there's ever any questions about this, I'm happy to answer any of them. You guys are always welcome to reach out to me.
Perfect.
Thanks,
Thank
Alan.
you.
Thanks, Alan. All right, anyone else wish to address the board? Yes.
Good evening. My name is Victor Romero, and I also live on West Beach Road. And I'm here to thank you for your support with this issue, and to plead with you and finding good resolution
Yeah.
to this issue that we have been dealing with for the past 10 years.
Yeah.
And to thank my friend and neighbor Alan for all his hard work with this issue. And that's pretty much about it. Thank you for your time.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for coming. All right. Well, I'd ask Carrie or Ted if they wanted to say anything, but I guess not. She just wants dinner. All right, we have no cause. So- We have no cause tonight for an executive session.
Mayor,
Yes,
I'd like to offer a motion to adjourn.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.